Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you for Wednesday, April 2nd. It is my birthday, and I don't even want to think about it because I don't want to think about how old I am or how long I've been doing this, how long I've been alive. It's a miracle I'm still alive after how this betting is gone. Good to be in a new month, although last night, 3 and 4. I mean, I know I have high volume on baseball, especially, and I do again today. I have 6 baseball plays today, by the way. 1 hockey and 2 NBA, and I feel like I'm limiting myself by doing it, but I don't know. And hopefully these plays are going to get there. Last night, the early games, it looked like I could have started off 3-0, man. I mean, North Texas, they were winning that game, whatever it was, 15-4 out of the gate. I think it was more extreme than that, and they're a pretty slow-paced team, good defense. So if they get a lead like that, you think they're going to hold the lead. And they did have the lead for the majority of the game, but they wound up falling short in the end. They fell behind and lost a close game bad because I had them on the money line in that one. I mean, they didn't cover the spread either because they were the favorite. But I feel like they should have won the game, man. You had North Texas, a team that plays really slow and tries to limit the possessions, but they had 70 field goal attempts in the game to UC Irvine's 49. And the teams were, I think, pretty close in free throw attempts. So when that's the case, if you have very similar free throw attempts between both teams and your team has 21 more field goal attempts, there's almost no way that team is going to lose that game. And that is what happened. They lost. North Texas shot abysmally from the field, like below 40%, which they're not really a great offensive team necessarily, but they are actually decent in offensive efficiency, according to KenPom. So on their possessions, they do tend to score, and Irvine was actually the less offensively efficient of the two, and they actually hit a higher percentage of their shots. It just sucks. That game looked like it was going to be a win. And then, of course, we had the 2 baseball plays that both turned on late 5 spots, where the Yankees, I thought the Yankees was going to be safe. I handicapped the starting pitching matchup right. Maybe I should have gone first 5 inning. Maybe I should have gone first 5 inning in both of them. The first 5 inning play would have won on both games, and instead I lose on both games. Yankees were winning the game 4-2, I think, into the 6th or 7th inning, and they gave up a 5 spot and lost the game. And the Yankees bullpen is not bad, so I was okay with rolling that one on the full game. Maybe the White Sox won. I shouldn't have, but the White Sox were winning that game 3-0 in the middle of the game, and then all of a sudden it completely flipped. So I had the starting pitching handicap right in those. Very brutal. I could have won all 3 of those bets, really, and if those 2 were first 5 inning bets, those both would have won, so I would have been looking at a nice winning night last night. It fucking sucks. And then the only, real, pure loser that I had was one of the other baseball plays. What did I have? It was, I wish I remembered what it was. I don't even remember what it was. I had the banners up still, but I took them out of here. There was some Major League Baseball side. I think, actually, let me look real quick. I'd see the schedule here. Even though I got to get to all these games today. We have too many games, man. Just when baseball starts, it just gets ridiculous. It was, what did I have? I don't even remember what the game was. I know I lost on one of these other sides in here. It was Washington. Yeah, Washington. They lost by 2. I mean, yeah, what can you do? That was an underdog play. And then we finished the night with 3 wins with the wins on the San Diego Padres. Easy win with that one. The under in the Dodgers-Braves game. Easy win as well. And then the Minnesota T-Wolves started out their game terribly, but they completely turned it around. Got right back in that game. I still think they're kind of a matchup issue for Denver, man. And both teams had guys out. Minnesota had guys suspended from that brawl, which I forgot to mention yesterday. Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo, I think, were both suspended from that brawl against Detroit. So somewhat key pieces for them. And then Denver was actually down. Jamal Murray, is that his name? And they had one other guy out. I can't remember who they had out. They had 2 of their fairly key pieces out for them as well. With injuries, I believe. But it wound up going into double overtime, and you get your underdog going into overtime, you basically think you're going to wind up losing a game that you should have won, because if the underdog takes the game into overtime, you basically know you're on the right side. But overtime where underdogs go to die, but it did not happen. Minnesota won the game outright, so I'll take that. Let's move on to today. We got a lot of baseball here, although actually I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about college basketball first. I'm just going to go in the order that I usually do. College basketball, the college basketball crown is continuing, which these early rounds are at the MGM in Las Vegas, and then I forget where the final rounds are. The final rounds are in, I believe, the Vegas Knights Arena is whatever the name of the arena is where the Final Four and championship are going to be, but we're in the, I believe, quarterfinals now. So we got Boise State against Butler. Boise State coming off absolutely destroying George Washington, I believe, a couple of days ago. They annihilated them. I thought it was kind of a bad spot for GW having to travel cross country. Boise State, obviously, the team much more used to playing in Las Vegas. Butler wasn't used to playing in Las Vegas, and they still won against Utah, a team that did have some turnover there with their coach gone, a couple of their players gone, although I thought Utah, with the familiarity, might be the way to look in that game. That did not happen. Butler won. Now we're looking at Boise State being a favorite here. They're up from 5-7 with juice. 86% of tickets, 96% of the cash coming in on Boise. And by the way, all the games in like the first round, and even these two games that we see today, all these totals are just skyrocketing. So the sharps are actually coming in and taking the totals over in all of these games, and I think most of them did go over in the first round. Maybe all of them did. So I think the thinking is that these teams just had so much time off coming into the games that I thought their offenses would be rusty and that they'd need to get used to the new venue, but it seems like the complete opposite happened, where the offenses were just well rested and ready to go. Kind of surprised me, but that seems to be the way it's going, and we see over money coming in these games as well. That doesn't surprise me as much because now we have teams that are not as well rested because they're all off playing a game 2 days ago, and they're now used to the venue. So the over money makes more sense to me in these games. And that being said, they'll probably not go over, but money is coming in at Boise State, driving that number up. I don't disagree with it. I mean, Boise, again, they're just more used to playing in Las Vegas. They're the better team over Butler. The issue is Boise, not a very good shooting team, although it didn't matter in their first game. They easily covered that spread in the first game. But then, again, Boise looked so good in that first game, winning by like 30 points, that it's like, how could you possibly be getting any value on Boise at this point? I don't think there really is any, especially with this line having moved up. But it does look like the money and the public are all just kind of agreeing on Boise in this game. Public and pro agreement maybe on Boise in that one. I'm going to stay away. Butler had the much less impressive game, though. So if you're looking for value, it seems like based on the first results that these teams had, you'd want to start looking towards taking the points with Butler. And Boise does play slow, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to cover a number. But the total's fairly high, which actually the total being high may indicate that Butler might be able to kind of push the pace a little bit in this game, which will kind of throw Boise out of what they're trying to do. And I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. You think that the better team and the slowdown team would be able to mostly control the pace in this game? We'll see what happens. And then Nebraska's up from 6-8 against Georgetown. 70% of tickets on them, 52% of the cash coming in at Georgetown. Georgetown just barely got by Washington State. I think Washington State, if I remember correctly, I think was winning that entire game. Oh, no, maybe I'm thinking of Nebraska against Arizona State. I think Arizona State was winning their entire game. Let me see. Yeah, Washington State was winning most of this game as well against Georgetown. So both these teams, I think, are coming into this game having been down in the previous game in the tournament for almost the entire game. Yeah, that is the case. Both these teams were losing almost the whole way in the previous game. Nebraska is the better team, which is why they're favored, although the money is coming in on the Georgetown side. I don't really trust Georgetown, though. I mean, having traveled to the Pacific time zone seems a little bit weird for them. They did get the job done in the first game as far as winning. They didn't cover the early numbers. They covered the later numbers because that line had dropped from like 3.5 to 2, 2.5. They won by 3. Georgetown, I'm just not really impressed by what we've seen out of them, man. They looked really bad against DePaul, although maybe DePaul just matches up well against them. DePaul, I think, won all 3 matchups against them. I think I lost on Georgetown in the Big East tournament. They lost to DePaul. Just completely ridiculous. But maybe it's just a matchup problem with DePaul, and maybe that actually just makes Georgetown look a little bit worse than they actually are. But I think Georgetown is without one of their better players here. I think Nebraska might be down at least one of their starters as well. I mean, this is the college basketball crown, man. So you've had players hit the transfer portal. It's basically like college bowl season. You got to really pay attention to it. A lot of these guys are just gone now, so it's really hard to handicap these games. So I I'm not going to be doing it. I'm not going to have my money on it. Let's go over to the NHL. We have a small NHL card here. I will point out the Rangers are returning home from a road trip. So it looks like a spot where you might want to fade the Rangers. The money is coming in on the Minnesota side. Rangers up from -150 and -152, but 67% of tickets, only 50% of cash. So the money is indicating on the Minnesota side. Rangers are just out on the Pacific Coast. Not really a long road trip, but they did play 3 games on the Pacific Coast. They're returning home. The problem I have with fading the Rangers right now is that they're in desperation mode, although they are laying a somewhat big favorite price here, so the pressure is going to be on them. Probably it's too much of a price to lay with the Rangers, so it probably does make sense to grab Minnesota as the underdog, getting a little bit of value maybe in the better spot, although I do keep saying Minnesota's overrated, which I still think is true. The Rangers do need the game more, though. They're still fighting to try to get a wild card spot, and they're a couple of points out of the wild card right now. Minnesota is fighting to hang on to a wild card, but they're in better shape than the Rangers are, so the Rangers are more... Their situation is more dire, let's say. Washington is at Carolina. Carolina up from -155 to -168. 67% of tickets, 94% of the cash. So the money is coming in on Carolina. I probably agree with it because I think Washington played last night against my Bruins, right? So they have no turnaround time here. Yeah, Washington was in Boston. Now they have to fly down to Carolina with no time off and play Carolina. Washington's already set, man. I mean, they have the best record in the East right now. That's probably not going to change. Carolina, not that far behind them, though Carolina is already going to make the playoffs as well. But I think they set up better in this game as they have had 2 days off, actually, and they're just staying at home. So Carolina has a pretty big rest advantage in this game. Probably part of the reason why the line is moving up, but that is basically the way that I would lean in that game. I'm actually not convinced that Carolina's not the better team in this game anyway, and the odds makers are kind of indicating that they are, as they're laying more than home ice there, and probably it's more than the situation is being accounted for in that number. So I think the odds makers telling you they actually think Carolina is better than Washington, and I agree. Florida is at Toronto. Toronto up from -115 to -121, 83% of tickets, 97% of cash coming in on Toronto. So some of the money is coming in on the Toronto side. Kind of surprised that Toronto would be public in this game. Florida's lost 2 games in a row, both to Montreal, as Montreal continues to try to fight to get into the playoffs. Florida did not get the road revenge. They went on the road to Montreal, lost again in overtime. That was without Bobrovsky in net, though. They used Vanacek in net, so... they're now on a back-to-back, but they probably will have Bobrovsky back in net for this game. They probably saved him for this game out of these 2 games in the back-to-back there. So you will get Florida's better goalie in this game, but they are going to be the unrested team as they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, all in different cities. Though Montreal to Toronto, not a huge amount of travel, but still traveling between cities. Toronto, I think it does set up a little bit better for Toronto, so I do kind of agree with what we're seeing in the market there, but... maybe not, actually, because Toronto's returning over the Pacific Coast. So what am I saying? So they're in a bad spot, too. And as I always say, when you're on the road trip return, and we're going to finally start getting those in baseball. By the way, we'll finally get to play some baseball sides, because you'll see today I have almost all totals. I have so many totals, and they're all unders, too. I'm just insane, man. Toronto, they are returning over from the Pacific Coast, so I would not want to play Toronto in that spot either. But the issue usually is that when you return home from a road trip, yeah, you're a bit tired, but you also get distracted by having to get back to home life, to family life. And I don't necessarily know that the distraction is going to be completely there in this case with Florida, the returning champs, coming into their place. So probably not going to be a completely distracted spot, but I don't want to play either team in that spot. And then the game that I am playing, please help me God, is the Seattle Kraken plus 130. Vancouver, the line is dropping on them, down from -150 to -144. They're public with 80% of tickets. I don't know if 93% of the cash is going to be accurate by the time this thing all pans out, but you want to talk about a road trip return. How about Vancouver? How about what they're on right now? Vancouver has been away from home since March 20th. They had a 6-game road trip, although it did end with them coming back to Winnipeg, but that is still a big game, man. Now, they do have a couple of days off to try to break that losing momentum, but I think those days off might kind of distract them a little bit. I mean, Vancouver is sitting decently in the playoffs right now. Seattle's not going to make the playoffs, so they might show up just for a game against Vancouver because it is Vancouver. Kind of a big name in hockey as Seattle plays out the stretch. But I think this is a bad spot for Vancouver. And Vancouver, highly likely they're going to make the playoffs anyway. It looks like Lankinen will probably be in net, although they've kind of been alternating between him and Demko. I don't even know which one of them is actually better at this point, but they're returning home from a long road trip, man, that took them into the center of the U.S. and then all the way east to New York and New Jersey, back to Columbus, and then back to Winnipeg, so almost back home. And now they finally return home. Like I said, I think you're going to get the distractions coming into play here with these guys having to get back to family life. And then on the other side, Seattle, I think this sets up a lot better for them as they're starting a road trip. So they're just being able to get out of Dodge here after they lost a couple of games fairly badly at home, only scoring 2 goals against Dallas. I mean, Dallas is a good team. They've only had 1 day off. I think the fact that Vancouver has 2 days off might actually make them get a little bit more distracted and settle into the home life a little bit more, whereas Seattle is starting a road trip. And when you lose a couple of games at home, and I mean, you can explain why they lost. I mean, Dallas is a good team. Seattle had actually just beaten Edmonton in the return home spot, so that was a big win. So they probably couldn't string together a couple of huge performances like that. But now they've had a couple of bad losses. One of the best things for you is to go out on the road and start a road trip, and they're not traveling very far, so they have less travel here by far than what Vancouver just went through. Seattle's just going up from Seattle to Vancouver, so I think this is a much better spot for Seattle. So we're going to take Seattle as the underdog, man. My hockey underdogs have been terrible recently. Completely falling apart, and usually I'm pretty good. Andrew, what's up, man? Nobody else to help with the tower, man. We have no viewers here, so we don't get viewers on this show. So that's the way I'm going. Hopefully this hockey starts turning around, man, because I've completely fallen apart in hockey, and my college basketball has been awful as well, so hopefully it starts turning around. My hockey typically is pretty good. Let's go over to a sport that has been good, the NBA. We have a lot of fairly big games here. New York is at Cleveland, but of course Cleveland is going to be a huge favorite. They're the Cavs. They're double-digit favorites, sitting at 10.5. The public coming in on the Knicks, actually. 82% of tickets, only 65% of the cash, and this is the game we get on ESPN. Both of these teams are fairly settled, I think, into their playoff spots at this point. I think the Knicks probably have a little bit more to play for, and they are getting a ton of points. So I don't think there's really value in laying Cleveland in this one, although the public does look like they want to take the Knicks. I think this is a big line, which kind of surprises me because Cleveland has been the team that's been playing way better, obviously. Cleveland really just staying at home right now, but Cleveland doesn't have a whole lot to play for. They're pretty much locked into the 1 seed. Celtics could theoretically catch them, but I don't think I see that happening. Knicks are on a nice little run here with 3 wins in a row. Might carry that momentum out to a game against Cleveland, but I do think the Knicks might have played yesterday. Yeah, they did. So the Knicks aren't a back-to-back, so that's one kind of drawback for the Knicks there, and maybe part of the reason why the line is quite as big as it is that the Knicks have to play 2 games in a row, but their game last night was pretty easy, an easy home win against Philadelphia, and they get to at least carry that momentum out on the road and start the road trip. I believe Indiana just clinched a playoff spot, so if you want to look to fade them, I mean, you could go ahead and do it if you want. We have a lot of huge double-digit numbers here, man. Pacers laying 14.5, 94% of tickets, only 73% of the cash, so they are public. They might be in a little bit of a letdown spot after clinching a playoff spot. I'm going to stay away. One of the games I'm not going to stay away from, I'm going to try to read my Boston Celtics. I'm going to fade them, even though it is my birthday. I'm going to take Miami plus 11 points here against the Celtics. I think this is a bad spot for the Celtics. The market read is completely opposite me here with the Celtics. Although they're down from 11.5 to 11, 81% of tickets are coming in on Miami, 59% of cash coming in on the Celtics. I don't see how that could be possible, though. Like, with the way the Celtics have been playing, how could they not be unbelievably public here? They just went on a long road trip, which is why I'm fading them here. 6-game road trip and won every game on the road trip. And yeah, I mean, sure, ideally they'd want to somehow try to overtake Cleveland. I don't think that's going to happen, and this is a bad spot, man. You return home from a road trip that you've been on since March 21st. You went out to Elevation, to Utah, out to the Pacific Coast, and then kind of back all around down to the southern U.S. Now you're coming back home with only 1 day off. I think it's going to be a distracted spot for the Celtics. Again, players got to return to family life. They're returning back home. Usually it's a distracted spot. Celtics have basically owned Miami, and they did just beat Miami in Miami by double digits back on March 14th. So Celtics are actually particularly good on the road against Miami. So Miami does have a little bit of revenge here. So I think you're getting Celtics in a much worse spot returning home. They're laying a ton of points, and I think you're getting Miami as the more motivated team here because Miami is still trying to play for the play-in positioning here at the very least. They're going to be in one of the play-in games, and Miami actually has momentum right now, too. They're on a nice little run right now. They're already up in the Northeast with the Celtics having to return back to the Northeast. Miami's playing a third straight road game, but they haven't really been taxed yet as they easily beat Philadelphia and Washington, and now they're just going up from Washington to Boston. Not a lot of travel there, really. And I think they're going to be highly motivated. I mean, Miami's on a nice run of 5 wins in a row. They got some momentum, so both teams have got momentum here. Miami, again, they need the game a little bit more because they are playing for playoff positioning here, and I think they're sitting as one of the road teams in one of the play-in games right now. They could potentially, I think they're only like 2 games out of the being a home team in one of the play-ins, so I think that's what we're looking for. So hopefully I know my Boston Celtics, and to me this looks like a spot where they are going to have a dud. A lot of their worst games are games where they're laying double digits at home and they just are playing a team that they usually beat, and the Celtics just don't have full focus. So I think that's what you might see in that game. I don't even know if the Celtics are going to be resting guys in this game or not. You can look at the injury report here. It looks like some guys are out for the Heat, actually. So they're going to be missing Wiggins, Duncan Robinson. So a couple of guys there. Jovic. Kevin Love doesn't really play anymore. He's old. Celtics look like Horford, Holiday, Porzingis, and Brown are all game-time decisions. So who even knows what's going to happen there? I just think the spot is bad. I do think the spot is bad for Houston as well. Houston is returning home from a road trip, although it is a shorter road trip. They were on the Pacific Coast as well. They just had a close loss to the LA Lakers, which ended their win streak. Now they have to turn around, return home, and with 1 day off, play Utah. And right after that, they have Oklahoma City and then Golden State, LA, both LAs, and Denver. So this is their only down spot left on the schedule, and they just beat Utah on the road by double digits, which I don't know what, they were a 13.5-point favorite there, so 17.5 actually seems about right for this number. That is what Houston is laying. They actually didn't cover the number against Utah. They won by 11. I think this is a bad spot. I don't usually take NBA games where the line is this big, but I think it would be take the points with the Jazz or don't play it. This is a sandwich spot for Houston plus a return home spot. It's a bad spot. And if this is a game with a different line, like a more competitive line, I would probably take the Jazz. 92% of tickets, only 56% of the cash on Houston, so they are public. Certainly I lean against them in that game. The other game I actually am going to play is on the Dallas Mavericks. I think this is a sneaky play against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks, I believe, are on a back-to-back, and they just lost to Portland, which isn't great, but they're having to play a back-to-back in a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. They were just on a road trip, and then they were in Milwaukee, came back home to Atlanta, and now they have to turn around and go all the way back out on the road again to Dallas right away with the Knicks up next. And I know the Hawks are still playing for playoff positioning because they're trying to host one of the play-in games, but Dallas is fighting to even get into one of the play-in games. And by the way, Dallas, we've been talking about how injured they are, but look at Dallas's roster in this last game, man. Dallas against Brooklyn, by the way, which Dallas lost. Dallas has Anthony Davis back. He's been back for like 4 games now, which I forgot to mention. Dallas got him back, and I think they actually won in his return, so good thing I didn't fade them in that game. I think they did. I'd have to look, but P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, all those guys have been hurt, and they're all back. So Lively is still out. I mean, he's going to be out because he has a stress fracture, so he's not going to come back. But most of Dallas's players are back, including obviously AD being the huge piece there, which really helps their inside presence and defense. So this is not that injury-plagued Dallas team anymore. I mean, yeah, they're without Kyrie, so that is one key piece. But Dallas has a pretty good roster right now, man. Klay Thompson's still there as well. So this is not a Dallas team that's uncompetitive at all, and they're laying 4.5 at home here, and I like how it sets up for Dallas as they just lost to Brooklyn, and that was a return home spot for Dallas, so that was a bad spot for Dallas on the return home spot. probably a distracted spot. They'd gone up to the east, northeast, and then come back to the southeast, then to Chicago. Came back home, had a bad loss against Brooklyn, who, by the way, they'd beaten on the road trip. So that was a bad spot, and it was a little bit of revenge for Brooklyn there. Bad spot for Dallas. And I believe that first game against Brooklyn was AD's return, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So they did win that game by double digits. So Dallas, they're in a good spot here now, man, because when you return home and you have that distracted spot, you usually play a lot better in your second game because you refocus and you realize, oh, shit, we just got embarrassed in that first game. We don't want that to happen again. So you refocus. Both teams are going to be motivated for all the reasons I just said, and I think this sets up better for Dallas here, man. So I like Dallas for all those reasons. That second game back home after a really bad first game back home is a positive spot. We're going to go with Dallas, and the public is actually coming in on the Hawks to the tune of 88% of the tickets. Public seems to think this is still this, like, totally, destroyed Mavs team, but the Mavs have most of their players back except for Kyrie, so it is not that Mavs team at this point. Only 70% of the cash on the Hawks. So the Hawks are public, but they look like one of those dreaded public road underdogs here where we get the Mavs as an anti-public home favorite, up from 3.5 to 4.5. I'm going to lay the points with Dallas. I'll go with the Mavs in that game. And then I think the Nuggets are in a bad spot as well. They're very public as well, down from 8.5 to 8 with juice, 86% of tickets and 93% of the cash. I think the cash is going to kind of move in the other direction there. I think this is a bad spot for Denver. I mean, they're on a back-to-back. They just played in that game where I won on the T-Wolves last night. That game went into double overtime. Huge game for Denver, trying to win that game at double OT. A really bad situation sets up now as they're on the back-to-back, and they have Golden State up next. And the Nuggets, I mean, yeah, they're fighting to try to maintain a home series in the playoffs, but I don't think they're really in danger of losing that. I know the Spurs are only playing out the stretch here, but I would look to take the points with the Spurs or leave it alone. The problem is the line is kind of low, and that's because we don't know who's playing for the Nuggets in this game. On the back-to-back, they might actually rest some players, and they got some guys that might be a little bit injured. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray were the two guys that I was thinking of yesterday. Both of them missed yesterday's game due to injuries, I believe, so we'll see what happens today. And I think that's that. And then we do have the ESPN game with Pistons Thunder. Thunder up from 12.5 to 13. Money coming, I mean, the public likes the Pistons, 84% of tickets, 70% of the cash. I don't really agree with it, even though I wouldn't want to lay the points with Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City's already pretty much, they've wrapped up the 1 seed, I'm pretty sure, so they don't need to do anything at this point. So Detroit is getting a lot of points. It still has the motivation. Detroit is coming off an almost 20-point loss. So actually, I don't even know if I actually agree with the Oklahoma City side here. The market looks like it's indicating Oklahoma City. I don't think I even agree with it. I mean, Detroit coming off that embarrassing loss. Detroit still has something to play for, as they still have seeding to play for at the very least. Oklahoma City's coming off a couple of huge scoring performances, 125 against Memphis, 132 against Indiana, 145 against Chicago. Just ridiculous. So that is the type of team that you kind of want to fade, a team that's on a run like that and has just been scoring ridiculously like that. Although Oklahoma City doesn't show signs of letting up, even though they're already in that playoff spot. So we will see. And then I believe the Clippers are returning over from a road trip as well. Yeah, they are. They went out to the East Coast as well. So they're in kind of a bad spot, but you'd have to take 17 points with the Pelicans if you want that. It looks like the cash is coming in on that side. 54% of the cash on them. Clippers laying 17. 90% of tickets are on the Clippers side, though. Let's go to MLB before I get out of here. I have a lot of plays in the MLB. I'm going to try to run through these quick. First game up at 12:40 Eastern, Texas at Cincinnati. We're going under 8.5 at even money here. Again, this is all about the pitching matchup, and we're going full game. In most of these games, I don't think the bullpens were that taxed, except for that one game that I'm going to talk about here. We had a really high-scoring game in the first game of the series, and then an unbelievably low-scoring game yesterday. But I don't really necessarily see the public coming in on the under here, although if you look at the market, it does look like they kind of are. 68% of tickets on the under, but 68% of the cash on the over. The line has moved up from 8.5 to 8.5 juice to the over. Obviously, I don't agree with that, so I'm fading the market read here, which I do somewhat often in baseball. I just think the pitching matchup calls for it. If you want to just focus on the starting pitching matchup and go first 5 inning under. I don't hate that either. You got Jack Leiter pitching for the Rangers, man. He had a pretty decent first start. He kind of got his bearings last year, and his one start this year against the Red Sox was quite good. Only went 5 innings, so he didn't get taxed, really. He gave up 1 earned run. 4-1 strikeout walk ratio. Tells me his pitches were working, and I think he's got the same advantage that he had against the Red Sox he's got against the Reds here, which is that they've never seen him before. So when you have a pitcher who's this young guy with good stuff who's never been seen before by the opposing hitters, and of course Leiter has that pedigree, man. It's like we're playing a racehorse. Oh, his father is Mark Leiter, man. He's got that pedigree behind him. When you have a pitcher that hasn't been seen before by the opposing hitters, pitcher has the advantage the first couple of times through the lineup because the lineup is not used to him and they don't know what to expect. And then on the other side, you got the vomit artist, Hunter Green, who is known for vomiting on the mound, but he had a good start in his first start as well. Kind of overdid it with the strikeouts, but they took him out after 5 innings. 8-1 strikeout walk ratio, only 3 hits allowed, tells me that he was definitely in command of his pitches. He was looking good, and he didn't overwork himself either. Both of these starters only went about 80-something pitches, so I like that as well. And he has 25 at-bats worth against Texas's hitters, and he has held them down to a 6-1 strikeout walk ratio, a 160 average, and 582 OPS. So I think both starting pitchers have the edge here. I am a little bit worried that it is a hitter's ballpark, but we had a 1-run game yesterday. So not every one of these games goes over. And, of course, unfortunately, I had the under in the previous game. So wouldn't that be great if I'm on the under in the 2 of the 3 games in the series that don't go under? That would be awesome. But we're going to take the under. I like the starting pitching matchup there. And, again, if you want to go first 5 inning instead, you can do that. I think that these pitchers will start to be extended a little bit more as we see the season go on. I don't know how long they're going to go this time, but we will see. Tampa, Pittsburgh, I mean, this looks like the makings of an under with Skeens against Pepio. You got 2 really good pitchers there, but I think with Skeens, you're not really getting any value on an under. You'd have to go under 7 here. Some of the cash is coming in there, 82% of the cash, only 76% of tickets. The line has actually gone up from 7 juice to the under to a straight up 7. I'll stay away from it a little bit just because I'm a little bit worried. Skeens, the 4 guys in Tampa's lineup that have seen him before have actually hit him pretty well to a 308 average and 846 OPS, although it's a small 13 at-bat sample size. But that means even the first times they faced Skeens, he didn't really do that well. So that kind of keeps me off of the under, although I still kind of lean that way. Pepio has done well against the Pirates, holding them to a 211 average, 634 OPS in 19 at-bats. 2 good pitchers in that one. Next game up is also going to be a play for me on the under. We're going all unders. Like I said, Royals, Brewers, under 7.5. You can find it at about -105 right now. This is Cole Reagans and Freddie Peralta. This is a game where, again, we had a high-scoring first game in the series, lower scoring yesterday. I think the bullpen situation is probably okay for this. And we got 2 starting pitchers that are very used to pitching in the majors at this point, man. So they've been seen before, but they're good enough that they actually have good numbers against their opponents here. And I think we're getting a little bit of value because neither of them looked that great in their first game. Cole Reagans did okay, but he walked 2 guys, went 5 innings, allowed 3 earned runs against a decent hitting Cleveland lineup, even though Cleveland's lost some of their hitters this year. So I think he's going to be in a little bit of a bounce back mode. So his ERA doesn't look good. It's like, why would you want the under here? But the Brewers, I mean, in these interleague games, man, a lot of times you got pitchers that haven't been seen before by the opposing hitters. So a lot of times you want to look towards unders. And in the early season, Reagans only has 11 at-bats worth against the Brewers, and he struck out 5 of the hitters in those at-bats. Man, 5 strikeouts and 11 at-bats. No hits allowed, so he's held him to a 0 average and 154 OPS because he does have 2 walks in there. So Reagans has done pretty well. And then Freddie Peralta didn't do well in his first start, but it was against the Yankees. I mean, he actually had an 8-1 strikeout walk ratio. So even though his numbers don't look that great, his ERA actually wound up being okay with only 2 earned runs allowed. But 8-1 strikeout walk ratio tells you that he was doing well. Both these pitchers are used to this at this point. They're both veterans. And the Royals only have 5 guys who have seen him before, 5 guys. 26 at-bats where he's held them to a 154 average and 407 OPS. So I think he got a good starting pitching matchup for an under in this one as well. Lines are dropped on this one, so the market is agreeing with the under strongly on this one, down from 8 to 7.5, juice to the over, 69% of the tickets on the over, but 62% of the cash on the under. So looks like a little bit of a pros versus Joes scenario setting up in that one. We do have Kikuchi and Gray, Sonny Gray in the Angels St. Louis game, they both have decent numbers against the opposing lineup, so I just don't know if I trust either one of those pitchers, so I'm staying away from that. Pablo Lopez is a good pitcher against Sean Burke for Chicago, who's been decent in limited playing time, so I kind of lean to the unders in those games too, but Burke, I don't know if I fully trust him yet at this point, although Minnesota hasn't really seen him before. Lopez is actually the scarier part of that matchup for me. Is he's allowed about like a 268 or so batting average to or somewhere in the 260s to Chicago, so it's not that dominant, so I'm going to stay away from that one as well. Mackenzie Gore and Easton Lucas, both young guys who don't really have a lot of track record, but I don't think I trust either one of those either. Actually, I don't think Lucas is even really that young, and Gore hasn't really been a very good pitcher, so I don't trust those guys either. Cubs, A's, I like the over in that game. Jameson Taillon, terrible numbers against the A's hitters. Springs, even though he's been a decent pitcher, both these pitchers have been okay, but Springs also has bad numbers against the Cubs. And this is in that weird Sacramento minor league park where they basically, they're like, their booth that they put like the commentators and the reporters in is like almost like a steel like bar, and it's like so ridiculous there, but it is a very hitter-friendly park there, and we saw in both of the games of this series, I think, have gone over. So you could see this game soaring over potentially because it's a hitter-friendly park, and both pitchers have bad numbers against the opposing lineups. Next game I'm actually on is the under in San Francisco. Houston, under 8 at -104. I like this under as well. You got Landon Raup pitching for the Giants. He's a young guy. Hasn't been seen before by the Astros, I don't believe, so... his whip was bad last year, but that's mostly because he was out of control. He walked too many guys. He has some nasty breaking stuff, too, so that's how he fools hitters. It's just he's got to get his control under, man. He wasn't allowing that many hits. He was just walking way too many guys last year. Houston, only Walker has ever seen him before. Speaking of walks, he didn't walk against him. He's just 1 for 3 off him, but I would basically say Raup pretty much has never been seen before by Houston's hitters, so I think he has the edge there. He hasn't pitched yet this year. Framber Valdez is coming off a nice opening performance. But, I mean, this guy's a veteran. He's used to stringing together multiple good performances in a row. And he's dominated the Giants for the most part, even though he does have too many walks with an 8.6 strikeout walk ratio. 35 at-bats where he's held the Giants to a 171 average, 521 OPS. So I'm going to go with the under in that game as well. That line looks like it's moving downward from 8 to 8 juice to the under, even though we got 60% of tickets, 80% of the cash on the over. Obviously, I don't agree with the over. In that one, I will go with the under. And Houston has played a lot of unders so far this season. And as I mentioned, they're without Bregman now, and they're without, what's his name? Tucker. I said it was Justin Tucker. It was actually Kevin Tucker. And then let me finish the afternoon games. Then maybe I'll come back and just talk about the evening games. I do have another under here, and so Arizona, New York is actually a night game, excuse me. Cleveland, San Diego, under 7.5 at -105. I like this one as well. And then when I come back tonight, I'll talk about I have plays in the 2 night games. I'll do a very shortened show tonight just to talk about those. Ben Lively against Dylan Cease, man. I mean, Ben Lively doesn't have a good ERA so far, but his whip was good. So in that first game, he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings, but he had 3 strikeouts, no walks. He gave up a home run against Kansas City, so I think he pitched okay. He's a decent pitcher, even though he's kind of come from out of nowhere, as he hadn't been good for most of his career. But against San Diego, and San Diego's a pretty pitcher-friendly park, even though he does have a 5.4 strikeout walk ratio, he's only allowed 4 hits and 27 at-bats, a 148 average, and a 480 OPS. So he has good numbers against San Diego. And Dylan Cease, this guy's going to bounce back, man. I mean, he had a bad opening performance against an Atlanta team that has a decent offense. He did not do well, not even making it 5 innings, putting way too many men on base. He did strike out 7 guys, though, so his strikeout pitches were working. He was just too hittable, and we know Dylan Cease, man. He's a good pitcher. He's going to bounce back, and he was good for the Padres last year. Again, he does have too many walks against Cleveland with 15 walks to 22 strikeouts, so he's got to get that those control issues under wraps, which I think he does at this point, but in 100 at-bats worth against Cleveland, he's held him to a 210 average and 653 OPS, so Cease has been good against them. I'll come back tonight, and I do have a first 5 under in Diamondbacks Yankees. That's the only one where I want to kind of exclude the bullpens. I'm worried about Yankee Stadium being a hitter's park, too, so we're just going to go with the starting pitching matchup there, and I'm Unfortunately, on the very public Dodgers, I'm just going to lay another run line with the Dodgers because I think the pitching matchup is a total mismatch in that game. So we'll talk about those as well. And Arizona Yankees, I think, have burned out their bullpens. I will say slightly into the Red Sox with Garrett Crochet against Eflin. Eflin has not been good against Boston, but Crochet hasn't been that great against Baltimore either. And the market looks like it's in disagreement with the Red Sox, so I'm going to stay away. And slightly into the under in Detroit-Seattle. Of course, it's a Seattle game. Skubal against Castillo. Looks like it's an under type of matchup there. So we will see, but I'll talk about it when I come back. Tower Game Toad on Twitter, patreon.com/TowerGame to support the most offensive podcast out there. That's going to do it for me, man. The plays one more time. Under in Texas and Reds. Under in Kansas City, Milwaukee. These are all baseball. Under in San Francisco, Houston. Under in Cleveland, San Diego. Under first 5 inning in D-backs, D-bags, and Yankees, who are also D-bags. Dodgers -1.5 run line. Kraken in hockey +130. Miami Heat +11 in NBA. Dallas Mavs -4.5 NBA. I'll be back for Tower Gang tonight as well, man. It's 9/11 Eastern Tower time. Tower Game, baby. Peace.